Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.
It's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. Keep in mind everything that you need to know about photography. F-stop, shutter speed, lens selection. Nice photo. I've got beautiful light now. Oh my God. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. Being a good wildlife photographer is more than just mastering focus, exposure, and composition. It's relying on intuition, good old gut feeling, luck, and tips you may get from other photographers. This week we're meeting up with my good buddy Jared Lloyd in Corova Beach, North Carolina. He's got a pileated woodpecker nesting, and we're going to try to photograph that. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. Well, there's Jared right there.
Hey, Doug. How's it going? You didn't get stuck this time.
I learned from the master.
That's right,
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just out on the beach doing a little shooting of some horses.
Man, that is a beautiful scene.
Oh, this is great, man. You got foals on the beach, got two groups here. I mean, they're all up and down, and fog's kind of rolling in and out a little bit on us, but it's nice.
That's awesome. So you got me a pileated woodpecker nest.
I got a pileated woodpecker nest for you.
Oh, man, I am psyched about that,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
Psyched. So you want to go ahead and go shoot that?
Oh, we got to swing by the hardware store, pick up a few things, and build a blind on top of my truck, and then we'll be ready to go.
Okay. You know what? If you don't mind, I want to get a couple shots of this before I leave. I never pass up an opportunity.
Wait a minute, you don't have this in South Carolina, man?
No. I'm going to grab my gear.
All right.
Well, if you remember back last year in season 3, we were here on the Outer Banks of North Carolina up here at Corova doing the wild horses here on the beach. And the place is covered in ticks. A lot of times when you have areas that have a lot of mammals, especially horses, you're going to have a lot of ticks. So it's important to protect yourself. Lyme disease is nothing to play with. There's a lot of products on the market right now, but when you're looking for products to repel and kill ticks, you want to look for a product that's got the active ingredient permethrin. It even helps repel mosquitoes to a certain degree, especially ticks though and chiggers. But you simply just douse your clothes good with it, get a good even coat, especially areas where a tick could get on the outside of your clothes and crawl up under it to your skin. Now, this stuff is good for about 6 or 7 washings, so you can wash your clothes 6 or 7 times and not have to treat them again. It's not a cheap product as far as it goes. It's $8–9 a can, but it's a lot cheaper than having to be treated the rest of your life for Lyme disease. A little bit of effort, we're done. We did that in less than 2 minutes. Now I don't have to worry about ticks and chiggers and mosquitoes for my next 6 or 7 outings. Well, we've got some issues we've got to deal with. The nest is in wide open, and it's in an area where there is some vehicle traffic, so we know the birds are used to vehicles being in the area, but the nest is about 30 feet up in the air. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Jared's truck, and we're going to build a platform on top of his vehicle and kind of use his vehicle as a blind. After scouting, we hit the hardware store. We've got our supplies, we've got a sheet of plywood, and we got a couple 2x4s that's going to separate the plywood from the top of the vehicle so we don't damage the vehicle, and it also gives us something to attach it to on his luggage rack. And so now we need to kind of rig up our framework for the top. Basically, we're just building a big cube. PVC works really good for building blinds, especially on the fly. I mean, we just got here this afternoon. Jerry's been watching these birds for quite a while now, and you know, knew where the nest was, but still, we kind of had to wait till we get here and figure out what's going on before we know what kind of blind we want to use. So we've literally been here just a few hours, and it's 11:30 at night, and we're planning on shooting tomorrow morning. So another late night. And the plan is we'll have room for 2 chairs, 2 tripods. It's high enough that it's covering our heads, and we can throw camo netting over the top of this. And even though, you know, we are sitting on top of a vehicle, the birds are used to vehicles, you know, because it's in the area where there's vehicle traffic up and down. So it's a back road.
It's only 12:30.
It's only 12:30.
We got 3 hours of sleep ahead of us, and a long day of shooting tomorrow.
Absolutely. We will tear this down and reassemble the PVC in the morning.
You know, Jared, I think this setup's gonna work really good. Building this platform on top of your vehicle, you know, we've cut the distance in half by elevating ourselves. We've got a nice view of this nest. Now we still have, you know, quite a bit of angle to our lens, but we're shooting with such long lenses that, you know, it doesn't appear as if we're under the bird.
Look, the female's poking her head out right now. Or it's the male, actually. The idea behind this blind is just to conceal our movements. If we were sitting up here without it, then these birds would be very uncomfortable coming into their nesting cavity because they would see 2 animals, potentially dangerous animals, sitting up here. So yes, there's these big holes all around us, but from the bird's perspective, they're looking down, they just basically see a box. You know, background is just as important as subject matter and just as important as lighting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
I shoot with the long lens quite a bit, and it compresses that background and really blurs it out. I don't like a lot of busy limbs and leaves in my background. I want my subject to pop out as much as I possibly can.
Oh, definitely.
Now I'm shooting manual focus, so I'm always being real careful and trying to make sure those eyes are tack sharp. That's the most important part of your image, is the eyes of the subject.
I, on the other hand, am shooting with autofocus. But as soon as I acquire the focus that I want, I make sure I hold down the autofocus lock so that way it doesn't go off of there.
Yeah, you can change
Especially
your composition. Change your composition and still have your focus locked.
Exactly.
That heavy cloud came over and I'm a little bit dark, so I need to compensate.
Speaking of exposure compensation, I'm a full 1.3 stops open right now. You know, I find that in cloudy situations like this, you know, I'm usually at least a full stop
Right.
Overexposed.
Tell you what, the adults are back and forth constantly. I mean, we've got to be just a day or 2 away from when it's time for the babies to start sticking their head out the hole. I'm hoping it'll happen any minute now. Look, got a scarlet tanager right there on the limb.
It's, you know, it's kind of a problem for a lot of us sitting in blinds. We get very focused and single-minded on our subject. We are photographing pileated woodpeckers, but at the same time, what are we doing right now?
Right.
We're just sitting back in our chairs. So, you know, a tanager flies in, a great crested flycatcher flies in.
You never know.
Exactly. You need to take that opportunity. Go ahead and photograph whatever you can while you're sitting there.
You know, when we sit here and we're waiting on stuff to happen, most of the time it's really nice just listening to all the natural sounds and all the other birds in the area and everything. But as I'm sure you can hear on camera, there's a bulldozer and a backhoe running nights 150 yards from us right now. You know, you never know where you're going to find a good opportunity. It can be right beside the highway. It can be in the most remote territories of Alaska. You never know. You know, it was pretty cool this morning seeing the two wood ducks fly in and land on the limb up there. You know, wood ducks are cavity nesters, and they're one of two species of cavity nesters in waterfowl. In the Carolinas, pretty much any old dead tree you can find a cavity in, you're going to find a wood duck nesting in it. We have a large resident population of wood ducks, and but I'm afraid that, you know, with development going on around here, then these ducks probably won't have a good nesting cavity in here much longer, you know?
No, unfortunately, these dead trees like this are the first things to come out of an area when it starts to get developed. They're ugly, but biologists, you know, they consider these to be wildlife trees. Mm-hmm. This is the primary habitat. You know, these woodpeckers, like the pileatics, come in, carve out these nesting cavities like this, and next year they'll fly off, they'll leave this tree, they'll go find another tree, carve out a whole new nesting cavity for the next year. And what that means is you have this large 4-inch wide cavity now dug out here, which is perfect for many different species. And you know, that's really birds in general in your forest. You think about all those all the birdhouses, you know, that you see at parks, that you put in your backyard trying to attract birds. In nature, in the wild, they're nesting in these woodpecker cavities like this. And so that's why biologists, bird biologists, consider these woodpeckers to be keystone species in a forest, because their presence means that you're going to have home and habitat, basically, for countless other species.
You know, and the pileated it's a big animal. I mean, when you see him on the side of that tree getting ready to enter that hole, when I first set up on him, I had a 2x converter on there, and I couldn't get all of the bird in. You know, I couldn't get his head all the way down to his tail, so I kind of misjudged on that, so I backed off, and I've got a 1.4 converter on there right now. Wow, this has been really cool, Jared. Photographing these birds on the nest. Really, really spectacular shots, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, this is springtime on the Outer Banks for us. You know, we've got the pileated woodpeckers really working right now, but I've got a little bit of a surprise for you later on. You know, last year when you came out and we did the show on the horses, you know, you really were digging on the red foxes and the sand dunes.
That was cool.
So for the last couple of weeks, I haven't told you, but I've been scouting a fox den.
Cool.
Everything set up, ready to go out there, and so.
Awesome.
You know, when we finish up here with the woodpeckers, I think that we'll make a run up the beach and set up on those foxes.
Awesome. I look forward to that. That's awesome.
Buy store-bought blinds and pop them up, anchor them down, just leave them. But just because it's a camouflage blind, that's not the only thing you need to be concerned about. You always need to cover it with vegetation that matches the area that you're shooting in. So as you're scoping this area out, you know, you also, the most important thing is, where am I going to have the best light? You know, without good light, you're not going to have a great image. Light is what really makes your images pop, and that's, you know, photography is all about light and how, you know, how you use light to create the scene. And you know, we've got great west light here off to our right, so we're going to have kind of a frontal to front quartering light, which should be beautiful when these foxes come out the den.
I really can't stress the importance of scouting for these sort of situations, like what you were saying. I mean, you might spend up to a week before you get an idea of exactly what their behavior, what their daily movements are. It just depends upon your subject, depends upon how weary it is, depends upon how complex the situation is.
When you're working with animals like foxes especially, I mean, their sense of smell is really, really keen. Luckily, we got wind coming in off the ocean right now, blowing our scent back toward the west, so I think we're going to be all right. But it's a good thing, because it's hot, we're sweating, and I'm sure we stink.
And that's specifically why we didn't come in here this morning or yesterday.
Okay.
Doug, I'm shooting with a 200 to 400 f4 lens right now with a 1.4 extender on there at f8. The reason I use f8, that's the sweet spot on this lens in particular. Every lens, of course, has that sweet spot of maximum sharpness. Now, in particular, in this situation particularly, that's going to put the fox completely in focus. That's also going to give the dim sight around it some sharpness as well, which is going to be very important. You know, I really like to incorporate the environment as much as possible in my images. It kind of helps tell the story, and specifically with these foxes here, they are denning in the side of a sand dune. That's something that I want to convey with the images that I'm creating here.
When nothing's happening, it is absolutely boring. But you know what? It's that 30 seconds of activity or 10 minutes of activity that, you know, just make everything worthwhile.
I mean, this is without a doubt a game of patience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't tell you how many thousands of hours I've spent doing this, you know. But I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. You know, I love to go to work every day. And a bad day, you know, out here is better than a good day in the office anytime.
That's right, that's right. No matter where you live, there's wildlife to be photographed.
Absolutely.
And it's always going to be in your backyard that you get the best shots. It's never going to be when you're traveling, because these are the situations that you can put the time in, and you can work slowly but surely day after day after day to get exactly what you need.
It's frustrating. You know, you go on all this work and they're just 10 feet out of your frame. You know, I mean, how many times has that happened? I mean, how many thousands of times
Thousands,
has
absolutely
happened?
thousands of times.
But all you can do is sit back and say, you know, watch it and say, boy, that's really nice. And I hope they get up and start moving around and come this way, you know. There you go, Jared. That's exactly what we want. Oh my gosh, look at that.
You like it?
That is so cute.
Maximum cuteness factor.
Very nice. There he is. He's up. He's up. He's up. He's out. Way out. Oh, he's way out. Oh.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. There was both faces side by side.
Nice. So there seems to be some confusion among a lot of folks as to what species of fox that they're looking at nowadays. In the eastern part of the country, so we have two different species now. We have both the American gray fox and also the English red fox. What we're photographing right now is the English red fox. These guys were introduced into North America about the mid-1700s or so. Obviously, they've naturalized the habitat. You can basically find them all up and down the eastern seaboard. And this is probably the most often photographed species of fox in North America today, even though it's not a native species. And if there's any confusion whatsoever as to what you're looking at, look at the tail. The English red fox is always going to have that white tip on their tail.
Right, little tip, yeah. Man, they just having big fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Me too.
Me too. Something spooked them. I mean, everything just dove into the den all at once on both den sites. I don't see anything around us.
No. Well, if you notice, all of a sudden we can hear the ocean. You know, just a couple minutes ago, it was a real low roar, just a kind of
Wind.
dull. That's right.
You know, Jared, I don't think these foxes are gonna come back out.
No, the wind switched on us. As you can hear, it's coming out of the northeast now, and it's blowing our scent right into their den site. So they've tucked back in there. They're probably going to stay that way as long as we're sitting out here. But as long as you don't mind getting your feet wet, we can jump in my boat real quick, head out to a great spot I got around the corner out in the Currituck Sound, and you know, finish up the afternoon with some scenics.
Oh man, that'd be fantastic. Let's get on running.
All right, let's do it.
Wow, Jared, this is spectacular, buddy. I mean, I see why you're so successful in this area down here. You know where all the good spots are, that's for sure. You put us on the woodpeckers, you put us on the fox den, and now a spectacular sunset.
Well, you got to be willing to get out there and explore. That's all there is to it. You know, as long as you're willing to get off of the beaten path, get off the road, get out in the water with a kayak, Carolina skiff like I got back there, whatever it takes. You know, immerse yourself in your environment and explore.
Absolutely, this is fantastic. When you start dealing with sunrises or sunsets, you've got to scramble. So it pays to get in position early so you know what you're going to do before the sun actually starts to set. Sunset, sunrise, not that hard to do. Generally what I do is I expose for the brightest part of the sky that does not include the sun. Now that is assuming that you are spot metering. I always spot meter, so I got a meter reading right over here on the right side of the sky, so the sun was not in my frame. You know, don't always look at everything from 6 feet 2 inches high. Get down low, explore, and the sun's gonna drop right under this hump in this log. Now, the reflection of the sun is extending out under the log right toward the camera, so that is my foreground element that I'm using here, and it's coming right between these grasses. Now, if you underexpose your shots a little bit, you can saturate the colors a lot more. We have kind of a plain sky. I mean, it's a blue sky, but there's not a lot of character in it, so you really want to make that dramatic. Contrast does create drama and exciting photographs, but at the same time, it can be very distracting, especially if you're having trouble exposing for both extremes of that contrast. So I've switched sides. I moved to the other side of this log so you could see what I'm talking about here. I'm using two-stop graduated neutral density filters. So what this does is darkens the sky, the bright part of the sky, and gets the tonality closer to what we have down here on the water and here in the foreground, which is much darker.
I'm using stacked neutral density filters, but I also have the addition of what's called a reversed graduated neutral density filter. Now this thing was made specifically for this sort of situation right here, where your typical graduated neutral density filter starts with the darkest part of the filter up at the very top and lightens as it goes down. This filter, the reverse filter, is actually darkest right across the middle and then lightens as it goes up and it goes down. So it's absolutely perfect when your brightest part of the sky is at the horizon, which of course is going to be a sunrise or a sunset situation, which is what we're photographing right now. So I have a 3-stop reverse grad on the top and a 2-stop graduated neutral density filter on the bottom, flipped upside down in order to control the contrast of the water as well. Now by combining both of these filters together, dragging my shutter speed out as slow as I can, which I'm shooting at about 3 seconds right now, that means that all of this ripples, all the ripples in the water that you see right now are completely done away with, and what you basically get is a solid sheet of glass across the Currituck Sound here. So it makes for a very artistic rendition of this old live oak tree that we have standing out here.
Yeah, this is amazing, and these are the type subjects you look for. They have a lot of character to them.
The other thing that we should probably mention, when you're using these sort of neutral density filters or graduated neutral density filters, this is a great opportunity to use live view on the back of your camera. I rarely use live view except for when I'm doing landscapes, and specifically when I'm doing landscape with filters. Because the thing about especially the reverse graduated neutral density filter that I'm using, you have that darkened strip right across the middle. Now when you're looking through your viewfinder, it's very difficult sometimes to get that lined up just right. So this is a perfect opportunity. Flip on the live view, you can kind of step back, you can adjust and line up your filters perfectly, get your composition just the way you need it, all the distracting elements out of it, click the shutter button.
You know, a regular tree here would not be nearly as nice as this, the old craggy, dried out limbs and stuff. This is really nice.
That's right, you gotta look for drama. You know, Doug, we're starting to lose our light really fast here, but I'll tell you what, even with these long exposures, because of the glassiness of the water and the kind of monotone nature of the sky, these are going to look fantastic as a black and white conversion. I mean, absolutely fantastic. This is going to be a dramatic scene even without the light here.
I was thinking the same thing, and you know, the longer we wait for the light to get less and less and less, the longer we can drag those exposures out, much like we do with waterfalls to make that silky smooth water. You know, we're going to get even a flatter, more silky look and feel to this. Yeah, this is really cool. But you know what? We got a heavy fog bank rolling
yeah.
in. We need to get out of here.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a ride to get back to the dock here.
Cool. Let's get out of here. And buddy, I appreciate it.
Doug,
once
it's great
again.
having you out on the Outer Banks again.
Awesome. Always a good time in the Outer Banks. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this week's show and learned a little more about what it takes to photograph nesting and denning sites in the spring. I'd like to give Jared Lloyd a big thanks for taking time out of his busy schedule to share with us these amazing sites. More information about this week's show is available online. And remember, it's not just about a photograph, it's the outdoor experience. I'm your host, Doug Gardner. Thank you for joining me on another wild photo adventure.
Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.